In the wild, chaotic world of the internet, some personalities are so opposite they seem to bend online discourse around them. In the right corner, we have the Roach King himself, Asmongold. And in the left corner, we have Hasan Piker. Never in a million years would you have originally expected these two to go against each other. But in the grand, unpredictable theater of the internet, their worlds did collide. This is the story of that collision, a saga of political beef, ethical debates, and a ceiling that, perhaps, just couldn't handle the weight of it all. The first sign of trouble wasn't a political tirade or some breaking news alert. It was a social media post on May 5th, 2025, with a picture of splintered drywall and exposed insulation. The author, Asmongold, explained he'd been hunting for the source of a nasty smell. He started looking around his attic for this dead animal and promptly fell through the floor, which turned into the ceiling. It was bizarre, almost slapstick moment. But it was also the perfect literal punctuation on a long-winded feud that started not with rot and decay, but in the lofty, abstract world of politics. To get why these two are constantly at odds, you have to look at their political background and what they believe. Hasan Piker is no stranger to this type of fight. In fact, I'm not going to say things because I'd have to say allegedly too many times. He built his career on political commentary. First, he started at the Young Turks with his uncle, and later as a solo act on Twitch. His brand is left-wing ideology. He passionately debates everything from labor rights to foreign policy, often with cool graphics and commanding broadcast-ready voice. His fans tune in for hours for him to break down the news, confuse everybody, guide them through a maze, and get lost in modern politics. Asmongold, on the other hand, didn't so much dive into the political pool as he was shoved in. For years, his channel was all about games like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy and other such MMORPGs. His political takes came later, usually as raw, off-the-cuff reactions to news clips his viewers sent him. His style is the exact opposite of Hasan's, where Hasan is polished and ready, Asmon is blunt and just states things as he feels them as they come. Where Hasan builds a case and still loses it, Asmon usually gives gut reactions and sometimes loses, often from a perspective that's been labeled leaning more right-wing now. Their inevitable clash was a slow burn of proxy arguments like But as their fame grew, a direct confrontation was unavoidable. A major flashpoint has been the Israel-Palestine conflict, which exposed their deep ideological differences. In a stream that earned him a 14-day Twitch ban, Asmongold made inflammatory comments about Palestinians, which he later offered a short apology. The fallout was huge. It was this controversy that led Canadian rapper BB No Money to censor Asmongold in a music video, covering his face with a cartoon lizard and donating the video's earnings to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. Hopefully those kids actually get the money. Hasan, a frequent critic of Israeli policy, became Asmongold's natural opponent. In May 2025, Asmongold accused Hasan of expressing material support for a terrorist organization and flat out refused a live debate, claiming Hasan would just lie and make up a bunch of bullshit. Hasan hasn't held back either, once calling Asmongold a disgusting little creature in response to his commentary. Their feud is a perfect snapshot of the internet's culture war. Hasan gets called out of touch, especially after his $2.7 million West Hollywood house purchase that sparked a ton of outrage. Asmongold is accused of chasing a right-wing audience, leaving his gaming roots for more profitable controversies. This shift was a major factor in his departure from One True King, or OTK, the content org he co-founded, because his commentary was causing problems with sponsors and leading to harassment of other members. While the political feud gets all the attention, it's worth remembering where their empires came from. Hasan, politics was the starting point, the middle point, the end point, the dead point, the resurrection point, the attempt at a career again, and still complaining about Asmongold point. But as for Asmon, the kingdom was, and still is, gaming. You don't get to the top of the internet without collecting a few scandals. It's just part of the job. In this arena, both Asmongold and Hasan are pros, though they handle the heat in a completely different way. Hasan's controversies are almost always tied to his political views, which is honestly kinda a red flag. He's been suspended from Twitch multiple times on his days off, once for using the word cracker, which he argued isn't a slur when used by a historically oppressed person. More recently, in May 2025, he was banned for showing a terrorist manifesto after a shooting, arguing it was a necessary part of covering the news. He's willing to argue with you as long as you don't get a chance to talk. He fights back, he doubles down, and he turns the drama into more content, like most content creators do. And he'll always circle back to Asmongold. And then there's Asmon, right? Asmon just shrugs. He once controversially stated he was 99% certain the Holocaust probably happened, drawing sharp condemnation. Now, whether that was taken out of context or not, who knows? He also once suggested that taking the bottom 5 to 10% of kids out of school and putting them in coal mines. He's mastered the art of a casual apology, or more often, no apology at all. He claims he can tank harassment that others can't, and seems to believe that any publicity is good publicity. There's a point to that, honestly, and I think both Hasan and Asmon realize that. After his ban for comments on Palestinians, he did post a quick apology admitting that he was an asshole for what he had said. And I appreciate that. I think that's valid. Nobody should wish death of another people group. I think that's standard human decency and human behavior. We all deserve respect, regardless of who we are. He seems to see controversy not as a crisis, though, but just as another storm to wait out, which is fair. This approach ultimately led him to leaving his own company, OTK, which he said was necessary to protect his friends from the drama that he was attracting. And that's the biggest difference right there. Hasan treats every scandal as an ideological battle he has to win. Asmongold treats it as background noise. Oh, you disagree? Oh well, cool. One man's brand is built on taking a stand and still losing. The other's is built on not caring what anyone thinks and falling through ceilings. Before we get to the grand structural finale of this story, think about subscribing. In the chaotic world of internet drama, you need someone to document the rise, sometimes the literal fall, of the biggest stars. And so we come to the final round. This isn't a battle of ideas or ethics, but of actual physical structures here. In one corner, Hasan Piker's 2.7 million Mediterranean-style house in West Hollywood, which doesn't scream socialism at all. The purchase itself was a huge controversy, as critics screamed hypocrisy at the internet's top socialist, which is a fair critique. The house, with its 5 bedrooms, became a symbol. For his critics, it was proof that his ideology was a fraud. For his supporters, it was a fair reward for a successful career. I could take it either way. Hasan himself just quipped that if people were mad, they should tax the F out of people like me, which is a weird thing to say, but hey, it's consistent. In the other corner, the habitat. We'll call it a habitat now. As far as I know, it's still a house, but the habitat of Asmongold. It's less of a house and more of a monument to chaos. For years, viewers have seen glimpses of rooms filled with empty soda cans, fast food wrappers, and layers of dust and the distinct smell of Dr. Pepper. It's here he earned his most famous nickname, the Roach King, a title born from the occasional insect guest star on his streams. Which brings us, of course, to May 5th, 2025. Bothered by a foul smell, Asmongold went into his attic to investigate. While searching for the suspected carcass, the structural integrity of his home finally gave up. He fell, punching a huge hole in his hallway seat. Actually, it probably wasn't a huge hole, actually. He's not a huge guy. He fell through his hallway ceiling, showering the carpet with insulation. He posted pictures of the damage, dryly comparing his house to a notoriously trap-filled castle from the game Dark Souls. The incident perfectly summed up his public image. His great rival, Hasan, reacted to the news with a kind of detached awe, calling it a impressive display of rot. That statement actually kind of goes hard. And here, the contest ends. There's no debate. In the house structure round, the win goes, without question, to the man whose floor is still intact. It's a victory for order over chaos, for solid ground over systemic decay, for propaganda over freedom. So, what's the big takeaway from this saga of political feuds, ethical messes, and collapsing ceilings? Well, maybe it's a lesson in modern fame. A world where a political ideologue and a chaotic gamer can exist on the same stage. They're totally different lives tangled up in one endless story. It's a tale of two opposing ways to be influential. One is a carefully curated commentator who builds his platform on propaganda. The other is the Roach King, who thrives in his own mess, gaining power from a deep indifference to the world outside his screen and his local Chipotle. In the end, their war doesn't have a winner. It has an ongoing bizarre symbiosis. Is it symbiosis at this point, or is it more parasitic, where Hasan has to say Asmongold's name 12 times a day?